Good evening and welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We are exactly 77 days away from the midterm election. Tonight we focus on Florida as polls are now closed statewide, so the countdown to election results is officially on. Our team is tracking primary election results in real time as the first official primary election update will drop in less than an hour. This, as state numbers reveal, Republicans hold a registration advantage of roughly 1.5 million voters over Democrats in the Sunshine State. So the question tonight, who will be the Republican nominee for governor? Who will win various Republican Senate and congressional races? We'll monitor the numbers as they come in, and we'll also be joined by some great conservative guests throughout the broadcast. Let's begin tonight with a recap of the most recent White House event where American hero lifeguard Ryder Williams was honored for saving a life from raging ocean waters in California.
Well, thank you very much, and this is a great story, and it's an honor to be with Ryder Williams, who is a 16-year-old lifeguard, and he saved this young gentleman. What you did was incredible. I've seen rescues before. I've never seen anything quite like this.
In those dangerous moments that we have, we always try to fall back on our training. You're trained so well by many. I hope that everybody can take away from this and try to help more people. Try to look out for everybody around you and just try to help everybody out.
So we saw that event just yesterday at the White House. Pretty awesome to see that actual footage that we played on the network just yesterday. But shifting back into primary election time, and also speaking of a number of great conservative guests, joining us now is the Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Director for Counterterrorism within the National Security Council, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Doctor, thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. All right, so we know that we've been hearing about the Save America Act a lot as we have 77 days until that big election. Is it going to turn into a law, or do we just have to pivot and figure something else out, at least maybe get voter ID or something, sir?
Yeah, I'm here to talk counterterrorism as Senior Director for Counterterrorism, so stuff like that is not part of my remit. But, you know, as a taxpayer, as an American citizen, I dearly hope so, because we need to have voter integrity.
Exactly. So now that President Trump has been sworn in, of course, for that second time last year, we saw the national emergency be declared on the southern border. That must make your guys' job a little bit easier, knowing that there's not an influx of people coming in on that southern border.
Well, isn't it interesting how we were told for nigh on 4 years that it can't be solved without Congress and you have to have new laws, and all it took was an election and a new president, or rather a returning president. It's wonderful to see the press gaggles that he holds, when even he is stunned by the figures. He says, can that be true? 0 releases of illegals? Well, guess what? When you, President Trump, pick the A team, whether it's Tom Homan as the border czar, whether it's Senator Mullen as the new Secretary of Homeland Security, or my colleague in the White House, the unstoppable freight train, that is Stephen Miller, the Homeland Security Advisor, that's what happens. The border is sealed, and we don't have tens of millions of illegals coming into the country as happened under Biden's watch, or rather as he slept and as Kamala Harris was the fake AWOL border czar.
Yeah, that was an absolute joke, as you know, sir. And when we shift into the borders of our country, seeing the National Guard in D.C. and Memphis has been awesome. Why don't you think Chicago, New York, and L.A. people have gotten the message when it comes to the political leadership there?
Well, look, I think, and here I'll veer off slightly into you know, the realm of party politics in full respect for the Hatch Act. Just as an American, you know, an observer of the American scene, what have we witnessed? We've witnessed a Democrat Party that's been captured by the radicals. I have this strange idea. I don't know if you agree with it. I would like to have 2 parties in America, both of which actually love the country. We can have debates about policies, you know, tax increments, or what you're going to do with tariffs, or what the vaccine regime should be. But both parties should love the country. But the really crucial thing we've witnessed in the last 18 months, since the inauguration, since my boss was sworn back into office, is that one party has doubled down or tripled down. You see the DSA wins, and what are we seeing? People who say no borders, who say we don't need a Senate, we don't need a Supreme Court. That's the insanity of the left. I guess the lunatics have taken over the asylum.
Well, we hope that they don't win coming up, of course, in the midterms. I saw a recent X post where you referred to President Trump saving the lives of 110 Americans in 18 months. Can you elaborate for our viewers?
No, I'd be delighted because we're moving so fast. It's truly hard to keep up with what the president is doing. So I'm in charge of counterterrorism for the president and the National Security Council, with my immediate boss being Secretary Rubio, who is the National Security Advisor as well as the Secretary of State. And underneath counterterrorism, also we are responsible for hostage affairs. And since the president was sworn back into office, as of just last week, where we had 2 Americans brought home, one from Russia and one from Africa, 110 Americans have been rescued and liberated, wrongfully detained or hostages. That no other president has brought home more than 100 Americans in a year and a half. And let me just mention one more unclassified piece of information your viewers should be aware of. In addition to the 110 Americans, former hostages brought home, our brave forces, and this is outside of the operations against Iran, our brave forces have killed 1,068 jihadis around the globe, jihadis who had killed Americans or who were plotting to kill Americans. So whichever way you slice it, President Trump is breaking records because that's who he is.
And let's speak about the president. Since 2015 to this day today, there are a number of highlights of victories, of accomplishments that I know you've seen even prior to the job you have now there in Washington. Can you share with us some of the highlights that come to mind since 2015 to 2026 and ideally beyond, all the way up to 2028, of course?
Well, I don't know if we have another 6 hours for our discussion. Look, I live what is called skiff life with my colleagues and I. Our work is classified, so we live inside these compartmented classified facilities. We have to leave our cell phones outside, and then we come out of the skiff a couple of times a day and we check our cell phones, and it's like, oh my Lord, what did he do now? It's peace deal number 8. If a president has one peace deal in an 8-year term, okay, not too bad. Maybe somebody's going to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Our president, this unstoppable force of nature, has brought 8 peace deals to the table. Ones that even if you told me, and I've known the president for 11 years now, even if you told me that, Armenia and Azerbaijan would come to the peace table, I would have said, no, that's intractable, that's impossible. Or Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, I would have said, yeah, maybe after 8 years we could do that. Or maybe the next Republican president. No, President Trump puts 8 on the table. He has the Abraham Accords going to the next level with Sharm el-Sheikh. We have, God willing, very soon, a deal between Russia and Ukraine. So whether it's the tariff system, peace deals, I don't know how much of a nerd or a wonk you are. I'm super excited about these small nuclear modular reactors that will be a game changer for rural communities, for data storage and processing, or AI, or the cyber advances the president has been promoting. So wherever you look, not just in national security, this man, President Trump, is making historic changes that will affect America for the better for the next 50 to 100 years. It is such an exciting time to be alive and to be an American.
And then on top of that, within national security, it seems like this federal government has foiled countless plots against the American people. Let's dive into some of those. I mean, that's great to see, of course, talking about safety.
Yeah, I recommend everybody don't just follow me on X at Seb Gorka, but follow my friend, the director of the FBI, Kash Patel. He's got a pretty good social media game, and every week on multiple occasions, he'll give you the stats because you won't get it on the fake news lying legacy media. And he'll say how many criminals we've arrested, the 80-year record in crime rates dropping, whether it's the cartel members who've been neutralized, or whether, to your point, the scores of terrorist attacks that have been foiled. I was right there on the South Lawn for the UFC cage fight with the president as we're neutralizing, as our brave federal agents, as the intelligence community is neutralizing a multi-person plot to attack the cage fight on the South Lawn, right there in front of the White House. So it's just so exciting to have a counterterrorism team, whether it's Cash, whether it's intelligence community, DCI, Radcliffe, the new DNI, they're coming in, Jay Clayton, who look at threats as they are. We're not surveilling Catholics in Richmond because they go to Latin Mass, like Christopher Wray did for the Biden administration. We're looking at the real threats: jihadists, cartels, and left-wing extremists like Antifa.
Isn't it wild to think that the amount of law and order that we're seeing in the country right now, it's a morale boost to the patrol officer in Detroit or in Des Moines or in Denver when they have people that are saying, hey, law and order is the way to go here. And that's what we're seeing with this administration. Final word, sir.
Yeah, again, just recommending to your viewers, I haven't had time. I'll do it tonight as soon as I'm off your show. I'm going to post some of the pictures from the president's speech to the New York police officers on Friday. Look at their face. Yeah, watch the whole speech. I'll post on my X account on Seb Gorka. But look at their faces. Look at the joy, the passion that they are allowed to do their job again. Whether you're a beat cop, on the streets of Suffolk County, or whether you're a CBP agent on the southern border, or whether you're one of our tier 1 operators or our support troops who are allowed to defend America and bring evildoers to justice. All it took, interestingly, was an election.
Exactly. We saw that election right here on Right Side, and it was a great day on that November 5th, 2024. The Deputy Assistant to President Trump and Senior Director for Counterterrorism within the National Security Council, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Right Side.
God bless you. Thanks for having me.
You too. All right, so live interview there here on Right Side as we get ready to go to a number of live interviews throughout this broadcast. Also, we'll be talking about Florida throughout this broadcast, of course, as we watch and monitor election results as they come in. All right, let's go to some of our sponsors in the meantime here on Right Side. All Family Pharmacy is one of them because we've talked about All Family Pharmacy before, and there's a reason we keep returning to them. In my opinion, they're one of the best pharmacies in the country because they believe Americans should have more freedom and more choice when it comes to their health care. They stand for medical freedom and work to make trusted medications easier to access without all of that unnecessary runaround. So when life throws you a curveball and your health suddenly becomes a priority, you want a pharmacy that's ready to help. From connecting you with licensed medical providers when appropriate, to fast shipping options, to knowledgeable support when having questions, All Family Pharmacy is there when you need them. They have a full catalog of more than 400 medications, from everyday essentials to antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD+, GLP-1 options, peptides, all the medications you may want to have on hand. It's the kind of company you hope you never need to use, especially in an emergency, but you're glad it's there if you do. Check them out. Find the medications you may need for your family. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can use that promo code. Save 10% off at checkout, RSBN 10. You could also give them a call at that number, 561-717-6794. And it's always nice if you don't have to deal with a voice prompt that sounds like it's a real person, but it's not. You got a real person on the other line there at All Family Pharmacy, great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to our next one here, Birch Gold Group, as we get ready to go to some more live interviews here on the network. You don't wait until your house is on fire to install a smoke detector, of course, and you don't wait until the wind and rain hammer your windows and the power goes out to prepare for a hurricane. And of course, you don't reach for your seatbelt after the impact, because after the crash, the hurricane, or the house fire, it's just too late. Similarly, you don't wait until the dollar goes to zero before you buy gold. It's just too late then. So you can diversify with precious metals now, because you never know what will threaten your savings next. Persistent inflation, a weakening dollar, unexpected financial disruptions. You don't know what's coming up next, but you can take a preventative step. And you can do that right now by requesting a free info kit on gold from our friends at Birch Gold Group. Just text Trump to that number, 989898. There's no cost, no obligation, just straightforward information on how you can diversify your savings, even an IRA or a 401k with gold. We trust Birch Gold Group here at Right Side. You can trust them too. Just text Trump to 989898 and we will get the ball rolling there with Birch Gold Group. Let's take a quick commercial break. This is RSBN Live. We have a lot to come here on the broadcast. We'll be right back.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. A beautiful look there at the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. Of course, we are looking closely at the primary election results that will be happening here in about an hour from now, or less, actually. 8 o'clock Eastern is when that update will happen, and it'll be specifically from FloridaElectionWatch.gov. So that countdown is specifically, it's on right now. So we'll be checking those out and going over some of the various races. Of course, a lot of people watching the gubernatorial race, the Republican nominee for governor. Who will it be? You know, we'll see what happens tonight, and we'll have a lot of live coverage throughout this broadcast, and we'll bring on some great guests coming up here, including one right now. Let's go to Chris Collins, who is the founder of the Texas Youth Summit. Chris, thanks so much for joining us here on Right Side.
Well, it's such an honor to get to be on. Thank you so much for having me and for all that you do around the country.
Yeah, you too, man, definitely. And I know we're talking a lot of Florida tonight, but let's shift over to Texas quickly. Just wanted to have you on once again because this Texas Youth Summit, you guys have some great speakers lined up. This is something that I believe the majority of the country is into God, family, country, right?
Absolutely. We're so excited about the Texas Youth Summit, October 9th and 10th. And last year we had 3,500 people and over 100 people gave their lives to Christ. It was incredible. And we have some amazing speakers this year. We have Yeonmi Park. She's a defector from North Korea, fighting communism. We got Chloe Cole. She's fought the trans issues. She's a detransitioner herself. Riley Gaines has really been active in keeping men out of women's sports. She has an incredible life story. Tulsi Gabbard, of course, former D&I director. She's incredible and real exciting to watch everything that she's done with her life. And we got Nick Shirley. He's exposed the fraud, especially in Minnesota and California, and it's incredible the work that he's done. Brandon Gill, he's really made some of the people in government look very silly on some of the videos in the hearings. I love watching him. And so we got an incredible lineup and a lot of state leaders, including Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and the list goes on. So I'm just super excited about the product we're going to have. We're going to have a worship service, and we've got a lot of work to do to change the hearts and minds of our young people, and it starts with revival in America.
Yeah, it's perfectly said. Exactly right. And speaking of people that are spiritual, to the point that before a White House press briefing, the great Carolyn Levitt, she would lead her whole team in prayer. We had that video from Margot Martin from back in the day. Your thoughts about Carolyn departing the White House and moving to the next chapter, but how great of a press secretary was she?
She was incredible, probably the best I've ever seen. Of course, I really started paying attention, watching her good work. I know there's other good ones. And so I say all that to say she'd be really welcomed at the Texas Youth Summit. We'd love to get her now that she's got a little more free time. Hopefully, I know she'll be working to take care of her kids and husband, but we'd love to have her at the Texas Youth Summit, and I'll have to reach out. And I love all the great work that she's done to defend our country and articulate the vision of President Trump. And I love her tenacity and making some of the reporters look really foolish.
Yeah, I mean, even before she became press secretary, her just on various shows out there, you can tell that she's on the right side of history and just spitting truth all the time. It was pretty awesome to see that. And then, of course, she's got a great future ahead of her. So let's continue, though, in Texas quickly. The Senate candidate, James Tallarico, I think he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Is that too far, or is that about right?
Accurate, very accurate. He says he's a seminary graduate. He's 38 years old, and he says that God is non-binary. So he bases that off of Genesis 1 when they're using the plural we, and he's talking about transgender issues in that situation. But of course, that's not what the scripture meant. God, the Trinity, that's what they're talking about. So, and then he uses Luke chapter 1 to claim that Mary is pro-choice, which is absolutely absurd. And he has this whole, spin on it. And that's what liberals do, is they distort. But really what this is something deeper than that. It's heresy. And so a lot of people, though, are being fooled by him. And my wife, she's a conservative, but she has some friends that are churchgoers, and they're voting for James Tallarico because they like, somebody that's young and exciting. And the reality of the situation is he's very charismatic. He's very well spoken, and he's saying the things that voters want to hear, especially the young people. He's talking about the issue of affordability. And so I love how JD Vance has pushed back on this issue, where a lot of people just want to call people socialist or communist, but JD Vance has pushed back and said, well, we've got to find solutions to fix our nation's issues and make it appealing to young people. And I don't think he's advocating for socialism, but he's talking about, capitalist policies that trickle down and help and reach young people, and that it's good employment. That's an economy that helps everyone, get a good job, and they work for everything that they have. And we've got to push down the prices of goods, especially, gas and food and groceries. And that, is important, because cost of living is high. And so we got to be mindful of this. We've got to tackle the affordability issue, and inflation has been out of control. And we've got to make sure that we push it down and do everything that we can.
Exactly. Now, Christian Collins is joining us from Texas. We'll have a lot of live interviews from Florida, but the combination between both states, you always hear about the Northeast, people moving down to Florida, or the Southwest, people moving over to Texas. We'll ask this question a little bit later, too, to some Florida guests. But have you seen that, too? Have you just seen an influx of people saying, hey, I'm from LA, I couldn't stand Gavin Newsom?
Absolutely. People moving from California and New York to places like Florida and Texas, and we've gained congressional seats because the census has, dictated that we've grown in population tremendously. Where they're losing congressional seats in those places, and for good reason. People don't want to live there and pay the high taxes, and so people are coming here looking for opportunity. But if they're going to come here, they can't bring their liberal values with them. They've got to remember what they escaped from, and they've got to help drive Texas's economy and make it a good opportunity for them, but keep it conservative for everybody else. That's why we've been successful here in Texas. I've heard, the 10th largest economy in the world. Bigger than Russia and Canada combined. So that's incredible. Just what an engine Texas is for the entire country when it comes to oil and gas and technology, and there's so many industries here that are thriving. We've got to keep it that way. There's a lot to fight for. We as conservatives, we care about all those things, and we also got to conserve our Christian values more than anything. That's what we stand for as Christians and as conservatives.
Exactly, and that's what our nation was founded on, that Judeo-Christian faith of the Bible there, right? I mean, freedom comes through Jesus Christ of Nazareth. That's my belief, and I know that's yours, and many people on the right side of history believe that, and it's great to see that. So Christian Collins, thank you, the founder of the Texas Youth Summit. That summit, October, is it 8th and 9th, correct?
October 9th and 10th. And,
9th and 10th.
I think on the last time I've talked with you, you talked about the Great Awakening movie. I just want to let you know that I did see that movie, and it was incredible. I was so excited to get to watch that recently.
That's awesome. I'm glad you watched that. Yeah, if everybody gets a chance, A Great Awakening, Sight and Sound. This movie is awesome. Christian, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. All right, good stuff there. That Texas Youth Summit's going to be awesome. You think of AmFest, you think of all these different conferences out there. Always good to have people that, it's really common sense. It's not, it's easy stuff. To love God, love family, love country, right? All right, let's go to a few of our sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including Kalshi.com/RSBN. A ton of political trending topics that you can check out if you'd like. So just go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. You can use the QR code, or you can download the app. This is something that is really hot right now, especially with the midterm elections as well. And if you don't feel like looking at politics, there's sports, there's weather, there's all sorts of stuff on there to check out. So just check them out, Kalshi.com/RSBN. You can bet, you can trade, you can check out the polls. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side before we get to our next live interview. Most of us know there's chlorine in our tap water. Sometimes you can smell it, then you shrug and you drink it anyway because we've been told it's what keeps our water safe. But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water. And that's why it's so important to filter your water through Cove Pure, because chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem. Chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated are these chemicals that form when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter from rivers, soil, and plant matter. When chlorine interacts with those particles, it creates chemical byproducts called THMs. And we're told that the government itself calls THMs probable human carcinogens. They've been linked to disruption of your gut and also linked to cancer. Those pitcher filters you get at the store won't fix this. They improve the taste of chlorine, but THMs require something far more powerful, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is. Their ClearWave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So it's not just chlorine or THMs, fluoride, PFAs, pharmaceuticals. If it isn't water, Cove Pure removes it. And this thing doesn't take up too much room at all. It's right there on the kitchen counter. You just plug it in. Don't need to call someone in to install it. And the best thing about Cove Pure is it lets you choose whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm with a tap of a button. And finally, the feedback on Cove Pure from our viewers has been incredible. People have told us they can literally taste the difference. Clean water is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. And right now, they're giving our viewers $250 off if you use our link. So just go to covepure.com/RSBN. covepure.com/RSBN. Good stuff there. And some great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Before we get to our next live interview, we are going to go to something that I saw just recently on X. Now, as we await the primary election results to come in from Florida, let's take a quick trip to Idaho, where a pro-life group was minding their own business and thrown out of a coffee shop for their beliefs. Check out this video, clip number 2.
I said everybody is welcome, but I said I don't want this group meeting here.
So we're just meeting for the first meeting.
I don't care. Go to the public library. This is my place of business.
But I thought this was like, we come here all the time. We just already bought our food and stuff.
That's fine.
But you're kicking us out of your... We're just
Did I make it very clear that I did not want you here? Yeah, I did a lot of work to get people on the ballot so women would have the right to choose in the state of Idaho. And this is something I do not support, nor does my wife, and it's our business. So we have that choice.
So you're kicking us out. You're kicking out me and Bear, who's starting this group, and you're going to kick us out.
It's like if the KKK asked to meet here, I would say no.
So you think pro-lifers are like the KKK? Is that what you're saying?
In my world, it's the same sort of concept.
That is so beyond par. Pro-lifers, those who advocate for the dignity of every human life, even children in the womb.
I've
You were saying we are like the
made my point
KKK.
clear. I asked you guys not to meet here. I said everybody is welcome, but I said I don't want this group meeting here.
So we're just meeting for the first meeting.
I don't care. Go to the public library. This is my place of business.
But I thought this was like, we come here all the time. We just already bought our food and stuff.
That's fine.
But you're kicking us out of your... We're just
Did I
meeting
make
for
it
the
very clear that I did not want you here? Yeah, I did a lot of work to get people on the ballot so women would have the right to choose in the state of Idaho. And this is something I do not support, nor does my wife, and it's our business. So we have that choice.
So you're kicking us out. You're kicking out me and Bear, who's starting this group, and you're going to kick us out.
It's like if the KKK asked to meet here, I would say no.
So you think
If a
pro-lifers are like the KKK? Is that what you're saying?
In my world, it's the same. It's the same sort of concept.
That is so beyond
Yeah.
far. Pro-lifers, those who advocate for the dignity of every human life, even children in the womb. You were saying we are like the KKK.
I've made my point clear. I asked you guys not to meet here. I said everybody.
Well, there you go. That video being seen by at least almost 250,000 maybe on X and other places. And joining us now is Kristen Hawkins, the president of Students for Life of America, and was the one you could hear in that viral video. That was your voice, correct?
That's right. I was sitting next to my 16-year-old son, who is helping me start this community group when the owner wanted to be very clear that we were not welcome in his coffee shop.
Was it an outside, or was this just a picture that somebody created? But did it say all or everyone is welcome, or no?
Yeah, this is a well-known coffee shop in our little community of Driggs, Idaho, in the Teton Valley that is kind of known as a gathering spot. They've made it very clear that they want everyone there. They do queer coffee hour, they do pet adoption days. People come there and work for 8 hours a day. This is a large venue that's known to be welcome for everybody, except it was made very clear by the owner that we were not welcome because he views pro-lifers like the members of the KKK.
Yeah, we heard the video there. A lot of people reacting online, the video going viral a little bit now. That's why it's great to talk with you a little bit. I did call the actual coffee house, doing my due diligence, and to bring on the owner if he wanted to talk. But there was no answering for any of that happening. But here's the question, though. So I looked up some of the Idaho laws there, and it looked very confusing to me. Does he even have the right to be able to do that and refuse service? It looks like he may, but then I saw something he doesn't under the situation with this situation here.
Well, there's a city ordinance that says you can't kick someone out, and that's kind of the legal gray area right now. Obviously, I support private business owners being able to ask people to leave. I think, but I also have the right then to film them telling us why they want us to leave and comparing us to the KKK. And I think that's the main point here is that whether or not it was illegal to do it, and you'll hear me in the video saying, are you kicking us out? And he's saying, I don't want you here, but he wouldn't say the word, I'm kicking you out. So he was being very careful with his word choice. And then as soon as I stopped filming, he had gone back to his office and blared the music so loud that we actually had to gather outside to figure out where we were going to continue our meeting at, because it had just started. And so it was very clear we weren't going to be able to continue meeting there at this place, even though I'd said, look, we'll never come back or whatever. So I think the main point, though, we need to really hit home is that this is somebody who's considered a pillar of our community. It's supposed to be this welcoming coffee shop. They host movie nights, ice cream for kids. They're not welcoming to half of our community. In fact, the majority of Idahoans who are pro-life, who are faith-filled Christians, and he made it very clear. And I think the community has a right to know that. And I also think we need to call out this atrocious behavior where I've got my 4 young children there, a group of elderly community members who we, by the way, had all paid for drinks and desserts, and they let us pay for all of that stuff before they kicked us out, by the way. I've got the receipt here to prove it. But then says that we're not welcome because we disagree on the issue of abortion. And not only do we disagree, he feels that we are members of the KKK, when in fact, it was Planned Parenthood's founder, Margaret Sanger, that's still today the largest abortion vendor in our country, who literally spoke to Women's Auxiliary of the KKK rallies. That's how insane this whole argument is.
Exactly, and you tend to see it with leftists that have the woke mind virus. It's really weird to see when they act like you can tell there's something in them that just hates so much Can you believe the other day, if we go from Idaho out to Massachusetts, the governor signing, oh, guess what? You can abort a baby later in term. And there's all these ladies around clapping and why are you clapping for that again?
I think most of those women, sadly, and some of the most strident defenders of abortion we often see on college campuses at Students for Life are those who've been party to an abortion. And so it's more of a psychology thing that you see. And you wonder, we always train our students and our staff, when you see the most strident defenders of abortion, those who come out and destroy our displays or kick us out of a coffee shop, you often have to wonder what else is happening inside of that person's brain and what's happened in their heart and their personal story. So it's absolutely devastating to see the governor of Massachusetts sign this bill into law, because first of all, when I'm on campuses talking about abortion, people say to me all the time, late-term abortions don't happen. That's just a myth. You're fear-mongering. Anytime someone says it to you next, just pull up that video, because late-term abortions are legal in the state of Massachusetts, and they cheered for them. The second thing you have to know is that we often hear from abortion proponents is, we don't really want there to be late-term abortions, but we need them for women who are facing unplanned crisis pregnancy situations and can no longer be pregnant. That's absolutely true. There are women who have to deliver early during a pregnancy, but as doctors have testified in state capitals across the country and in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, there is no medical reason ever to end the life of a baby when a mother is facing a crisis pregnancy situation. You may have to deliver the baby, but you never have to insert digoxin into the baby's heart to induce a cardiac arrest to save the mother's life. In fact, that's even more unsafe for the mother. So all the talking points they use, those have gone out the window. And I think it's Trump derangement syndrome, whatever you want to call it. They are just going so far to the left. This new McCarthyism that we're seeing on the left, it's here. And it's just, honestly, I think it's just an overreaction to President Trump and the Republican leaders in Washington, D.C.
And then on top of that, we go down to the nitty gritty of it, of the whole thing of freedom of choice. And they say, well, it's the mother's choice. Well, what about as we know, the baby's choice? I mean, come on.
The argument is ridiculous. You can say freedom to choose. Okay, what freedom to choose what? Freedom to choose to kill the life within you, the child within you. We all know as adults, we have bodily autonomy and we respect bodily autonomy. But what you do with your body, there are limits to that when it harms another innocent body. I can't go and smoke meth and roll up the windows in my car and subject my children to that, because that'd be me harming my children's body. And the law would recognize that. Leftists would recognize that as wrong. But suddenly when it comes to abortion, because we can't see that baby, even though we know that baby is a unique, whole, living member of our species who's never existed before, will never exist again, we say it's okay to kill it because they're simply inconvenient. And that is why abortion is this moral wrong. But not only that, it's this ultimate act of discrimination. And if these liberal coffee shop owners or leftists really wanted to adhere to what the principles they say that they have, they would join us in defending the most weak and the most vulnerable in our society. Instead, they've gone to the polar opposite.
It's awful, because sometimes we have people that they have good hearts, good-hearted people, but then they got jacked up in the brain somewhere along the way. Right. And what a war that must be, and turmoil for these kind of people. Right. Hopefully they get detoxed from that in their brain. Kristen Hawkins, the president of Students for Life of America. And finally, just want to say one thing. We have a right to boycott and put terrible establishments out of business. Don't mess with the American people. We just won't spend our money. There you go, right?
That's exactly right. And I love that. That's what we do every day at Students for Life. We detox whatever's messed up in their brain out of these young people on college campuses and bring them the truth.
Awesome stuff. Kristen Hawkins, again, the president of Students for Life of America. Thank you again for joining us here on Right Side.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. So again, we are still keeping our eye on the Florida election results, the primary election, of course. Now, the reason why we haven't talked about it a lot in this first hour is because at 8 o'clock Eastern is when the first update or / drop of election results will happen there. So we'll be diving into that, and we'll go to a number of people in Florida who are standing by in the next hour. And it'll be great to speak with them here in just a little bit, and also some other guests from around the country. Let's go to a couple sponsors before we keep it on. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You know, we've talked about All Family Pharmacy before, and there's a reason we keep returning to them. In my opinion, they're one of the best pharmacies in the country because they believe Americans should have more freedom and more choice when it comes to their health care and their medicine. They stand for medical freedom and work to make trusted medications easier to access without all of the unnecessary runaround. When life throws you a curveball and your health suddenly becomes the priority, you'll want a pharmacy that's ready to help. From connecting you with licensed medical providers when appropriate, to fast shipping options, to knowledgeable support when you have questions, All Family Pharmacy is there when you need them. They have this full catalog of more than 400 medications, from everyday essentials to antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD+, GLP-1 options, peptides, all the medications you may want to have on hand. It's the kind of company you hope you never need in an emergency, but you're glad it's there if you do. Check them out and find the medications you may need for your family. Just visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can use that RSBN 10 promo code at checkout, and that phone number there if you have any questions, 561-717-6794. Let's go to another sponsor here on Right Side. I believe it will be Birch Gold Group. Of course, we don't wait until the house is on fire to install a smoke detector, and you don't wait until the wind and rain hammer your windows and the power goes out to prepare for a hurricane. And you don't reach for your seatbelt after the impact, because after that crash or the hurricane or the house fire, it's just too late. Well, within that framework, you don't wait until the dollar goes to zero before you buy gold. It's just too late then. Diversify with precious metals now, because you never know what will threaten your savings next. Persistent inflation, a weakening dollar, unexpected financial disruptions. We don't know what's coming, but you can take a preventative step, and you can do that right now by requesting a free info kit on gold from my friends at Birch Gold Group. Just text Trump to that number, 989898. There's no cost, no obligation, just straightforward information on how you can diversify your savings, even an IRA or a 401k with gold. We trust Birch Gold. You can trust them too. Text Trump to 989898 as it's 7:42 Eastern Time here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network as we take a look at some of the Florida information that we're getting here, various things that we're getting, as we can actually take a look, too, at specifically the FloridaWatch.gov image that we have here at the network. I'm going to double-check all of the numbers that we're seeing here. Some of the polls that have closed about 43 minutes ago. We were waiting for the 8 o'clock Eastern Time update, but it looks like there are some other updates that are happening. So I'm going to check those out here. As the Republican primary, it looks like 30% of votes are in. Byron Donalds has 49.5% of the vote. Jay Collins has 25.9%. Now, Jay Collins, of course, the current lieutenant governor there in Florida. It's updating rapidly, so it's possibly getting to be outdated here in a second. Kalshi polling is also showing a 100% odds of victory for Byron Donalds. So we'll be going to some of these specifics as we get them here on the network, and we'll be looking through the state information as we get that as well. Again, 8 o'clock is when we'll be looking at that. So why don't we shift over to some of our live interviews. We'll be going back and forth throughout all of the coverage tonight as we check out the latest for the primary election. Joining us now is one of our next live people here on the network. Toria Brooke is joining us, conservative host. Thanks so much for joining us, Toria.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
it's an interesting race we've got. Oh.
Yeah, definitely. It is an interesting race. First of all, you on Truth Social and X, you do such a great job with all of the different videos that you're posting and all the news aggregate side. Could you tell us a little bit how you got started with it?
So I actually started in 2020 when COVID hit. I actually was working in fashion at the time, writing for Ralph Lauren, and I just felt compelled to get involved in politics. I felt like there was so much going on in the world that was more important than fashion, and I got into defense. So I was writing for nuclear weapons out in Utah, and quite frankly, even though it was pretty interesting, I actually got bored and I wanted to continue to pursue journalism. So I actually reported live from the Rushgate trials in 2022. So that was in DC and then in Alexandria for the Danchenko trial, and no one was paying me at that time. I just wanted to go and report the truth, and the mainstream news networks weren't really doing their part. And through that, I got familiar with Kash Patel and at the time his foundation, and so I just went full force. And I really enjoy sharing news that people need to see that isn't accurately portrayed. And I've been suspended from Instagram 12 times, Twitter 3 times. So as you can imagine, it's been quite the road.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's when you're speaking truth or when you're reporting things that are outside the mainstream, of course, the leftists don't like that at all. So let's talk about tonight, of course, when it comes to Florida. Were there any of the gubernatorial races that you're following or any races you're following in the Sunshine State?
So in the 87th district, we've got Trump-endorsed John Maples, who is able to take down Emily Gregory. They actually flipped that county blue, which is super important for us because it is a MAGA county. We've got Jupiter, Palm Beach. We really need to win the 87th district. And in addition to that, I'm very interested in what's going on with the AG race because, as we know, Uthmeyer has been amazing in the world of social media and just child safety. He's been really on top of trying to tackle, counter sex trafficking. And the great state of Florida, actually, to most people's surprise, actually effectively impacted the most effective counter sex trafficking operation in the history of the United States. Nobody's really talking about it, but that actually happened during this second Trump administration. So I think that Florida is a lot more important than people realize, and it sets precedent for what happens throughout the rest of the country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing that's how Florida goes, so goes the rest of the nation. That is something that I heard back in the day for the state of Ohio when it comes to presidential cycles, but we're seeing that Florida really steering a lot of things as well. Let's shift over to the midterm national convention that'll be happening in Dallas, Texas, September 9th and 10th, I believe. Your thoughts about something like that happening, where usually it's a presidential cycle where the midterms have this convention, but we're seeing that now.
I think it's really great that it's happening because it's going to kind of gain more momentum for us as the conservative movement, because right now I think a lot of people's concern is that once President Trump's out of office, that we're going to lose our power, we're going to lose our effectiveness, and getting together once more to kind of bring that camaraderie, I think it's something that hasn't happened before, as you mentioned, but hey, maybe we can set this for a tradition going forward.
Yeah, it would be great to see that. Your thoughts finally about the Save America Act ideally becoming the Save America law?
Well, it needs to happen. After all, why are we even talking about the fact that people shouldn't have to use an ID to vote? After all, most things in this country you have to use an ID to have access to. So I don't even know why it's an argument. And the fact that, people in Congress are trying to challenge the president on this, I mean, really, he could probably put this into law without their assistance. However, I do think that this will set precedent for generations to come as far as what we're allowing here in this country and mitigating the illegal immigrant crisis, because we want to know that our votes are American.
Exactly. American citizens voting in American elections. It's common sense stuff out there. What would you like to say to those that follow you on Truth Social and X? Because I know I followed you on X or on Truth Social as well. And it's just great to see all the good work out there.
Well, thank you so much for sticking with me this whole time. I know I have many accounts, and I wish it wasn't that way, but that's what we have to do when we're fighting the good fight and putting out the actual truth. So if you want to follow me on other platforms, I'm on Telegram as well. And there's a new platform that just launched called Mirage. It is the competitor to Reddit, and it will be more conservative, free speech focused. So not trying to get you to have to go on more platforms, but if you're interested in that, be my guest. And Instagram is my platform of choice, but Truth Social, as always, is my other favorite.
Yeah, definitely a favorite here at Right Side as well. Thank you so much, Toria Brooke, conservative host, for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you so much.
Definitely. All right, so good stuff there. We have a lot of live interviews coming up, and we're also seeing a lot of numbers come in at the same time. So I'm doing a little bit of circus juggling at this point as we take a look at a lot of things, including our sponsors. Let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, mypillow.com/RSBN. A lot of great products there that you can check out if you'd like. You have the huge discounts as well by just using the RSBN promo code. mypillow.com/RSBN. Everything from the Giza Dream Sheets to the premium pillows to the slides, the slippers, the towels, the coffee, all the things. mypillow.com/RSBN. And speaking of RSBN, if you'd like to donate to the network, rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate. Let's take another quick commercial break. Let's do a little bit of a reset here and get back into the pocket. We'll be right back.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Brightside Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Brightside Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. 7 minutes to the top of the hour. If we look at Florida, electionwatch.gov, specifically, that's the state government website when it comes to the timeline for reporting and certification of election results from the Florida Division of Elections. So we're taking a look at that here on the network. At this point, still 6 minutes out until the official results come from that site. Monitoring that here on Right Side. Also, we're taking a look at some of the AP reports that are happening out there. Producer, can you repeat some of the numbers that you're hearing? Okay. 76% of the votes are in right now. Byron Donalds has about 50% of the vote right now. So we'll be seeing if he is the Republican nominee coming up here in just a little bit. In the meantime, speaking of Florida, let's go to a great patriot, John Strand, and an interview that we recently had with him, as we have more live interviews coming up here on Right Side, and we'll continue to update you on the numbers that we have. Joining us now is Florida District 19 congressional candidate John Strand. That was an excellent video. How's the campaign going out there, my friend?
Matthew, it's always great to be with you. The campaign is fast and furious. Early voting has already started in Florida's 19th district, so you can join the fight today at johnstrand.com, where we are running to restore courage, common sense, and Judeo-Christian values back into the government, because it's time to take this country back for we the people. And we're very excited to be in the mix in a wide open race here.
Yeah, exactly. And then on top of that, for anybody watching this live or on replay, if they're like, wait, I've heard of that guy, John Strand, can you give them that background story of, you're a true patriot. You were a J6er, falsely accused, and then they exonerated you. So could you share with us just a little bit about what that was all like back in, 2021?
It's an incredible story. You can see the book on the screen behind me. I wrote it in a prison cell. johnstrand.com/book. Patriot Plea, also on Amazon. It will absolutely change your life if you read the book. And it tells the story not only of myself, but of the country, who we are, where we're going, and what's required at this moment. My journey, my dad was in the Navy, stationed in Florida, where my brother was born, Pennsylvania, where my sister was born, and California, where I was born. But in 2020, COVID came crashing down around all of us. I led a freedom rally to push back against lockdowns and support President Trump. He actually tweeted our rally. It was so successful. And I became the creative director of America's Frontline Doctors, the group that broke the lies about COVID. Dr. Joseph Ladapo, now the Surgeon General in the state of Florida under DeSantis. And then we were wrapped up in the Fedsurrection because of our work to save lives against COVID. I refused a false plea deal on principle after they charged me with a 20-year felony, beat it at the Supreme Court, fully exonerated of all charges, vacated with prejudice, now running for Congress at johnstrand.com. It's a wild story, but that shows you what God can do when we are faithful, we listen to him, turn in obedience, commit ourselves to foundational principles and Judeo-Christian values and fight for them. God is faithful, and he can do amazing things through each and every one of us.
With God, all things are possible. And to be honest with you, the interview doesn't need to continue on. It will, but what you just said there is the context. Everybody can understand, in just a nutshell, what the heck happened to you and now the direction that you're going. And again, you have a number of key endorsements recently, which is nice to see that as well. It's great to see that. Now, tomorrow, actually, it's the 18th, so we're 8 days away until it's go time for you. So how are things feeling and looking?
It's go time now. Early voting is on the ground, so you can vote from 10 to 6 every day in Florida, Southwest Florida's 19th district. The endorsements are powerful. I've never held elected office before. These folks clearly don't owe me any political favors. Why are they putting their name and reputation beside mine, John Strand, Patriot for Congress? Well, the answer is because they know me. They've seen and worked and fought with me in the trenches and on the front lines defending freedom in America. So they understand what's needed at this time. We need men of courage and faith to get back in the government and lead our nation back to the fundamentals of freedom. Like, what are those fundamentals? Well, God is the source of our rights, not the government. And the only valid purpose for government is to protect your rights from infringement, not to steal your money and spend it on foreigners and daycare scams. And the Bible is God's instruction manual for life, and our Declaration and Constitution, drawn from those scriptures, are sacred guardrails to constrain the government from becoming a burden. But we've lost that. The government is a leviathan overwhelming the middle class, and we need brave patriots to bring it back within constitutional borders and defend American citizens against the onslaught of Islamic hordes, of communist radicals within our own gates. And we need to understand what America is, Judeo-Christian values, define it, and then defend it. I'm doing that at johnstrand.com, and you can do it with us and wherever you live.
All right, so that is exactly the rallying cry for we the people, right? That is when President Trump on J13, God moved his head over, or an angel, or whatever you believe about it, he did not get the worst case scenario there. He survived. He said, fight, fight, fight. Yeah. Exactly. And when he said fight, 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 figuratively speaking, in the sense. Okay, so that was a recent interview, of course, with John Strand, who is running for Congress from District 19 there in Florida. So we'll see if the results come out with him on top as we're looking live in Washington, D.C. Joining us now is a great patriot and founder of the Honest Pollster, Mark Mitchell. Mark, thanks again for joining us here on Right Side. We don't hear you yet with the audio. We'll give it one more try here. Mic check, 1, 2. Nope, that's all right. Let's take a quick commercial break and we'll get the, got you back there. There we go. All right, hey, all good in the hood. Tell us your thoughts about, we just keep rolling. How, your thoughts about the Florida election race right now for the primaries?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there isn't too much of a surprise. What's actually surprising to me is that unlike other primaries, we're actually seeing a pretty good Republican turnout. Now, I think as a percentage level, we might see about the same as 2018 or 2022, but still a lot of votes. Looks like it's getting close to 1.7 million. And the other thing that was kind of interesting is that there were people on the tickets who were just like not your typical Republican candidates. People like Dan Bilzerian and people like James Fishback. And a lot of people were interested to see how they would perform. And does it herald a change in any way in Republican Party politics? And in the primaries, it would seem to be that the answer is no, because it looks like Byron Donalds is going to, sail to victory. I think Collins is performing better than people thought he would. Randy Fine's going to absolutely crush Dan Bilzerian, it looks like. And so the answer is, well, Donald Trump turned out a big tent coalition in 2024. A lot of the people he brought along were not your traditional Republican voter. Those people aren't turning out in primaries to vote at all.
And this, as I'm hearing in my ear right now, that the AP is saying that Byron Donalds is the declared winner for the Republican nominee for the governor of Florida. So we'll see what happens on November 3rd, of course. Let's shift over to the Save America Act. I mean, we've heard a lot of people talk about it, but Mark, I don't think it's going to pass. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, not at all. I don't think it'll pass at all. And it's sad because Americans were very upset about the status of elections in the country. Even Democrats, we got up to a point where 66% of people thought the outcome of 2020 was in some way affected by fraud, and even a good 41% of chunk of Democrats who thought mail-in ballots made it more likely to cheat. And overwhelmingly, people support things like paper ballots and IDs. And it looks like they're not going to get them. And that's, again, sad because people don't look at the Republican Party and understand the political nuance behind the scenes about whether they can or can't pass the legislation. People think that they gave the Republican Party a mandate. And in many ways, you can measure it. A lot of people look at the Trump administration and don't think the promises were delivered. One of the questions we asked is, has Trump delivered more or less on his promises than previous presidents? And it was only a few months ago. And 50% said less, and only 33% said more at a top line level. And so, again, those numbers are worse than Trump's approval. And I think people are looking at the Republican Party and saying, well, like, we were desperate. We gave Trump the biggest turnout a Republican ever had. We all know what he was elected for. It was mass deportations, rebuilding the American dream, the middle class, securing elections, and draining the swamp. And like measurably, I don't think people think those things are happening right now.
And we'll see what happens, as we have hopefully some more years to get stuff like that done. But that's stuff that we did want to see right away out of the gate, right?
Well, I think we could look back at the beginning of the term and say, like, a lot of those executive orders were giving America what they wanted. And Trump had a very high approval rating at the beginning of his term. It got up to 55%. But what was astounding is he had a 60% with the under 40 voter, which is the crazy first time it's ever happened with Republicans. And what was driving it? Now, a lot of leftists would say we didn't like the way that Trump was executing DOGE, but people looked at what was going on with DOGE and they loved it. They're like, wow, we're getting our fiscal responsibility. We're right-sizing the government. And then it kind of fell off. Nobody really talked about it. And then it sort of disappeared. And then the priority seemed to shift. We got the One Big Beautiful Bill, which had some MAGA components, but people, I think, were confused about. We got Operation Midnight Hammer, which I think sort of derailed things. And we can argue about whether Liberation Day with the tariffs was handled well or not. I think it was all sort of noise. But then there were these just optics that didn't really sort of like match with what people voted for, the way Trump was messaging on things like H-1B, on things, the 50-year mortgage, on house prices, on the affordability crisis. And I think all of those things together made people question, like, whether or not we see results or not, is Trump on board with the mandate that we voted for? And I think that's the real problem, is that these problems that I think personally we have are too deep to be fixed with one presidency. But the people need to know that they have a reason to vote Republicans. What does the Republican vision for America look like so that we know that there's an option other than Democrat socialists? And for a lot of under 40 voters, they're not looking at the Republican Party and seeing that option. They're seeing the same old tired words they've heard over and over again, which is conservatism is great, capitalism is awesome. Well, capitalism, but according to these people, is failing them. And they don't look at Trump and say he gets it. So I think that's really the biggest pall hanging over the midterms. And right now, the polling doesn't look great for Republicans. Sure, maybe there'll be a surprise and they'll outperform the polls. But if they don't, it will be because Trump didn't stay on his 2024 message.
The elephant in the room right now, Mark, is the fact that this is Right Side Broadcasting Network. We've been every step of the way with President Trump. The speeches, the rallies, the events, the shout outs from the president saying RSBN's here, all the things, right? And maybe people would be shocked to say, well, what about Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, MTG, and the list goes on? Thomas Massie, all these people that President Trump has distanced himself from. What are your thoughts about that when it comes to what we see in conservative circles out there? I'm not afraid to ask the question.
And let me first say, as a pollster, I have biases. Now, I try and separate my work from my personal opinions, and I try and make objective judgments based on the numbers I see, so people know that I'm representing the American people and not a political party. But I was an early Trump supporter 100% because I thought we needed an outsider to come in and basically blow up the system. And he seemed like that guy for a very long time, and he had a lot of momentum, and he had absolutely the 100% right message. Every component of his platform is by far more popular than he actually is. And so the Democrats might just run on it. It's so great for America. We're at that point. And one of the things I got a chance to talk to him back in November is that, like, sir, you had that moment at Butler. You said fight, 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 but you never said exactly what. So, like, what are we fighting? It should be fight, fight, fight for the American dream, for the American people, for the American worker, like something, and not MTG and Thomas Massie. And so when you have this major coalition built on all this momentum for, like, America's getting what it wants, and then it becomes a circular firing squad. And I don't think he's to blame for most of that, but certainly some of his financial backers, are to blame for some of this. Some of the podcasters, sure, would rather purify the movement through subtraction. And that might be good at maintaining a political narrative online, but it doesn't really help you at the ballot box. And so when you look at Trump's electorate from 2024, he got about 40% was from Democrats and independents and people who actually are socialists. Trump got socialists and Muslims and people he'd never gotten before. The whole point is to keep them, not all of a sudden what you're seeing. And I'm not pointing the finger at Trump. I'm pointing the finger at people around him. Is all of a sudden we're regressing on things like Muslims. I don't want to go move to a radical Muslim nation, but they're only 1% of the country. So to say all of a sudden that the Republican Party, who had Muslims for Trump, all of a sudden needs to be like hardline anti-Islam in America, that's not a winning position. It's purification through subtraction. And I'm afraid what that really is kind of a scuffle to figure out what happens to the Republican Party once Trump's political capital starts to wane, which if he loses both houses will to some extent. And so there is a big question now of what 2028 looks like, what it's going to be fought over, and what does the Republican Party make that fight about? And right now it's socialists are scary. We got to get the Muslims out. Like, this is the kind of thing I'm seeing online from very Trump loyalist people right now. And I don't think that's helpful. I think that's actually making the movement regress. This was a big tent. We wanted everybody. This was not a racist movement. In 2016, you saw a minority with a MAGA hat on, and everybody in MAGA was like, oh, cool. Like somebody just hopped aboard the Trump train. And so that's what I'm watching right now. And again, this is an online thing, right? And purification through subtraction doesn't work. It just doesn't.
The only pushback I would have with that, in the sense of just a conversation, is the specifics when it comes to Sharia law versus someone that's moderate Muslim that doesn't even practice that. So I think that's the topic that people should be more specific about. Is we have a law here, it's the Constitution. We don't want another law, that kind of thing. So I think that's from that standpoint. But outside of that, let's finally shift over to Byron Donalds, as he is declared the winner of the nomination in Florida for the Republican Party. Your thoughts about Byron moving forward for that state?
So, again, one of the issues that is percolating through, and I'm raising this issue because it's an important issue that is playing out in elections now, is specifically stance on Israel. And the reason I bring it up is because Israel public opinion is cratering, and I've been talking about it for a year. And it's getting to the point where it is going to start affecting people. Now, it didn't help James Fishback, but looking at Byron Donalds, who got 7 endorsements and had a significant amount of money, I don't know if he's going to get to 50% here. So he actually underperformed even potentially Lindsey Graham in South Carolina. And of course, it's not apples to apples. It was a much more crowded field here. And Collins did a lot better. But there's this aspect of like, how does, as a candidate, he represents the Republican Party at large, which has aspects about it that are increasingly unpopular to the younger, newer comers who are now abandoning the Republican Party. So does Byron Donalds represent the core Republican voter right now? Yes, he does. But what he represents is the kind of person at a national level who might get you your 60, maybe even 65 million sort of like Mitt Romney vote. But it's not going to get necessarily that 77 million vote because people were crawling over broken glass for the things that Donald Trump offered, which very clearly was like America First, again, this middle-class focused golden age, and the one a lot of people don't talk about, this idea of draining the swamp and accountability for the federal government. And so, like, this is one of the things is that, like, I don't think necessarily Trump has improved the position that voters have on their ability to trust the people leading them. That's not to say a lot of people don't trust Donald Trump, but you're seeing, for instance, when a new power gets in the presidency, the party in power will all of a sudden trust the federal institutions. The Democrats will trust the FBI all of a sudden when Biden's in office. That did not happen with Republicans. They don't trust the FBI still. And as an example, and that's because we haven't seen whatever process of like reforming those, firing the people that did the bad things or whatever. And so you have the situation where, like, it's frustrating, but I think it's true, is that the temperature in America continues to ratchet up by many measures. People think we're living in a police state. People think the economy is unfair to them. People don't trust the federal government. They think most politicians are abusing, like, waste, fraud, and abuse to personally profit. And now they had an opportunity where an outsider was going to come in and ran very heavily on fixing those things. But there hasn't been a payoff yet. And so with the pendulum potentially swinging back to Democrats, who are probably, by all accounts, going to be absolutely insane, like, it's going to get tricky and it's going to get strange. But then throw on top of that this whole aspect of there might be an inflection point with by age, voters on the younger end of the scale aligning behind economic populism and socialism. When Trump had a lot of those voters, like, we might see something like that where these people look at the establishment and say it doesn't represent me anymore. And a lot of the problems there are with the major corporations, which Trump hasn't exactly been hostile to, let's just put it that way. So it's going to be a weird couple of years. I think MAGA is going to turn into something else, because I don't think Trump's going to really be defining MAGA anymore. And there needs to be some, like, moral core to what the future of conservatism is. And it needs to be focused on making capitalism work for everybody. And I tried to help Trump with that message, but it was not ever really something that in this presidency, this particular one, really clicked.
The founder of The Honest Poll, Mark Mitchell, joining us right now. Freedom of speech is a beautiful thing, Mark. We love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so 100%. Much for your insight and all of your analysis here with us on Right Side.
Thanks so much. Great to be here.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So live interview there. We have a lot to come here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, Byron Donalds declared the winner of the Republican nominee for governor there in Florida. So we'll be going back to some more information in just a second. Let's go to a few sponsors in the meantime, as it's 8:13 Eastern. All Family Pharmacy is one of our great sponsors. We've talked about All Family Pharmacy before, and there's a reason we keep returning to them. In my opinion, they're one of the best pharmacies in the country. Why? Well, because they believe Americans should have more freedom and more choice when it comes to their health care. They stand for medical freedom and work to make trusted medications easier to access without all the unnecessary runaround. So when life throws you a curveball and your health suddenly becomes the priority, you want a pharmacy that's ready to help. From connecting you with licensed medical providers when appropriate, to fast shipping options, to knowledgeable support when you have questions, All Family Pharmacy is there when you need them. They have a full catalog of more than 400 medications, from everyday essentials to antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD+, GLP-1 options, peptides, really all the medications you may want to have on hand. And it's the kind of company you hope you never need an emergency, but you're glad it's there if you do. Check them out and find the medications you may need for your family. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that promo code RSBN10, and that's the phone number if you'd like to give them a call, 561-717-6794. Let's shift over from All Family Pharmacy over to Birch Gold Group. You don't wait until your house is on fire to install a smoke detector, of course, and you don't wait until the wind and rain hammer your windows and the power goes out to prepare for a hurricane. And you don't reach for your seatbelt after the impact, because after the crash or the hurricane or the house fire, it's just too late. Within that framework, you don't wait until the dollar goes to zero before you buy gold. It's just too late then. So you can diversify with precious metals now, because you never know what will threaten your savings next. Persistent inflation, a weakening dollar, unexpected financial disruptions. You don't know what's coming, but you can take a preventative step. And you can do that right now by requesting a free info kit on gold from our friends at Birch Gold Group. Just text Trump to that number, 989898. There is no cost, no obligation, just straightforward information on how you can diversify your savings, even an IRA or 401k, with gold. We here at Right Side, we trust Birch Gold Group. You can trust them too. Text Trump to 989898. Two great sponsors there on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we continue on with our live coverage. Beautiful evening there in Washington, D.C. As you see, Byron Donalds wins the Florida primary race. Of course, I'm focused on also Bea Valenti and John Strand, both running for Congress. They've been on the network before. We'll be going to Florida here in just a little bit to have some more live interviews. Let's take a quick commercial break. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. A beautiful look there in Washington, D.C. Let's get to some of the results. Finally, we're seeing them outside of the Associated Press. We're seeing it directly from the state of Florida. So we're going to go to those right now. And we'll look at some of the numbers when it comes to the gubernatorial race. So Jay Collins, okay, he had 383,151 votes. That's about 24.8% of the vote. Byron Donalds, obviously, already now, as you see, wins the Florida primary race with 746,662, or 862. That's 48.5% of the vote. I'm zooming in here on the other screen as I could take a look at the background here. James Fishback had 157,446 votes. Jim Holcomb, Arthur Joseph McCaffrey, Daniel Nokovich, smaller numbers there. Paul Renner, 129,563 votes. Rachel Rodriguez, 25,969 votes. And Bobby Williams, 60,732. That is some of the numbers that we're seeing here from FloridaElectionWatch.gov, of course, directly from the state of Florida. So again, Byron Donalds, 746,862 votes received. That's 48.5% in the lead there. 24.88 is the closest to him, which is Jay Collins, the lieutenant governor. So we see that Byron Donalds has won that race. Let's go to some of the other races as well when it comes to for U.S. Senator. We see that Ashley Moody has crushed the competition there. 1.2 million votes. To be exact, 1,200,719 votes. 79.62 of the vote there goes to Ashley Moody. Crushed Chris Gleason, Neelam Tanjay Perry, and Ernie Rivera with that. So Ashley Moody, of course, the Republican there. On the Democrat side, Angie Nixon is moving on with 659,000 votes against Alex Vindman there for Senate. Now, as we dive into the U.S. House of Representatives when it comes to the primary victories for various people running for Congress there in Florida. Let's go with Jimmy Patronis, of course. He won that, 42,397. That's District 1. In District 2, the winner, Austin Rogers, right now actually in the lead there, not declared yet. For the Republicans in District 5, Mark Kaye has lost most likely to John Rutherford, who has 67.83% of the vote. Let's go to District 6 in Florida. Right now, Randy Fine winning against the pack there by a pretty sizable percentage. So Randy Fine, of course, winning and moving on in District 6. Let's go to Representative in Congress, District 7. Ryan Elijah right now has 47.02 of the vote, so that's 29,667 votes. Corey Lee Mills at 21,659, so 34.33%. That's a tight race there. Ryan Elijah and Corey Lee Mills. That's District 7. Moving on to District 9 right now in Florida. It looks like Dan Green has a slight edge over Ben Butler, who has been on this broadcast before. So we're taking a look at a pretty close race there. As we continue, let's go to a couple of our sponsors, and we'll go right back to that in just a second. All right, let's go to Tax Network USA, as you see there. A lot of financial questions out there. You know, do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? Or did you retire and suddenly get hit with a tax bill you didn't expect? You know, however your tax issue started, the outcome is the same. Your balance is not going down, penalties grow, interest compounds, and many of you may be owing again coming up. So a lot of questions that could be answered there with Tax Network USA. The IRS is not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, property seizures, and they can even file for you without your consent. And this is really where Tax Network USA comes in. With more than 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. They specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. And they can do the same for you, but you have to give them a call now. They're offering a free investigation call with the IRS. And after that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. This is really about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Give them a call at 877-479-6503. That's 877-479-6503, tnusa.com/RSBN. Let's go to one more sponsor here on Right Side. Parents and grandparents, check it out. Democratic Socialists, unfortunately, are winning some primaries and gaining some political influence heading into the 2026 midterms, which are 77 days from today. And their ideas in favor of higher taxes, welfare programs, and bigger government are not only threatening our way of life today, but they could destroy your children's future. Your kids are bound to hear more about socialism as we approach the midterms, but depending on the source, like their public school teacher, not all of them, but some, They could be hearing that socialism is better than capitalism and that socialism is the answer to all of our problems. Of course, parents want to be in control of this conversation, so our kids don't risk being brainwashed into believing these lies. That's why I want to tell you about the Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism. Designed specifically for kids, this important guide explains the difference between capitalism and socialism's big brother, communism, in a way kids can understand. It explains crucial concepts such as free markets, individual freedom, and government overreach. The Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism also helps kids understand why socialism and communism have never worked by taking your kids through different historical examples, from the Plymouth colony's failed attempt at socialism, Cuba's disastrous situation, and across the globe to the Soviet Union and communist China. This is really to show them how socialistic practices failed miserably. And remember, with the midterms coming up, this is especially important for kids to learn right now. And that's why the Kids Guide is giving you the Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism for free today. It's part of a free gift bundle that also includes the Kids Guide to Free and Fair Elections. The guides are free and yours to keep. You just need to pay $2 for that shipping and handling with this special offer. And to learn more and order your free copy of this Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism and your free bonus guide, just visit kidsfightingsocialism.com/ actually, no slash at all, kidsfightingsocialism.com. It may be the most important thing you can do for your children or grandchildren this year. That is quite a lot of talking here on Right Side, but you know what? We're getting through it. Check it out. Live picture there in Washington, D.C., of course. Beautiful picture there in Washington. Maybe we'll see Carol Levitt one more time when it comes to a press briefing before the month's out. We'll see. That'd be great. But outside of that, let's get back to some of these numbers in Florida. Specifically, let's go to District 11. Right now, Joe Strada has the lead there by just a few votes over Carrie Baker. Let's go to the Republican District 14. We're seeing that Mike Beltran has quite the lead there, 25,000 votes, 25,813 votes to 17,000 for Kevin Steele. Let's also go to a few other districts here. I want to go to 19. John Strand, right now, not looking too good for John at this point. Jim Schwartzel right now has the lead there with 25,595 votes. District 20, Brent Anderson leading there sizably there in District 20 in Florida. So looking through all of the various races right now when it comes to the primary election, it does look like, as you see, Florida governor or Florida gubernatorial candidate Byron Donalds has won the nomination. So he moves on to that November 3rd election. Also Ashley Moody as senator winning that as well. Randy Fine, another winner. So we're seeing the victories come in for the Republican Party as it's the bottom of the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's take another quick commercial break. We'll reset, check out some headlines. We'll be right back here on Right Side.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pier 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus, free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network, looking live with Ann Vandersteel right now. We'll go there to Ann as she is live in Florida. Thanks so much for joining us, Ann.
Hey, Matt, good to be with you. We're at the Renter Watch Party here. We just concluded the election results. Didn't turn out the way we had hoped here for Paul Renner. Byron Donalds is the obvious winner here in the election. Paul Renner has called him, congratulated him. And he just got done giving us a really inspirational speech about how he got into this race with prayer. And he concluded the race in prayer, and he's asked all Floridians to rally behind the Republican nominee because he made a very clear and compelling case as to why we cannot have David Jolly. We're going to go backwards, much worse than we could have anticipated, that anyone could actually anticipate when it comes to the woke DEI agenda and, of course, higher taxes, which is the last 8 years of DeSantis. We simply just cannot go backwards.
Exactly. The woke DEI agenda is still alive. It's still out there, as you know. Oh, yeah. And we know we want the Save America Act to become the law, but it doesn't look like at this point it's going to happen. We'll see what happens. Hopefully something will take place for it to happen. But outside of that, how do we really, I don't know, let's just be straight up about it. If the midterms don't go so great or don't go well, it's going to be a tough next couple of years, isn't it?
It is going to be a tough next couple of years. And at this point, you know, the voter turnout was nowhere near what we had hoped it would be for, you know, for this primary here in Florida. And I think Americans have to ask themselves, you know, why is that? Why are Americans not showing up in droves to the poll? What is going on right now? Is it the agenda currently coming out of the White House? Or is it something else? Are we really, you know, becoming a socialist country? You've seen a marked rise in the Democrat Socialist Party. They're ripping the masks off right now, particularly in some of the elections we've seen out west. You know, so to see a very, heavy sort of a socialist agenda coming out of the Democrat Party here in Florida and trying to reverse course and go back into CRT, DEI, this woke agenda, should have every Floridian on high alert, particularly as Florida became the free state during COVID. And so many people left the woke agendas of their state behind to move to Florida. And I think that's what people have to sit back and really take inventory here. Who do they want to be and what do they want Florida to be? And if we have our druthers, those of us that fought hard in the Renner campaign and other campaigns, it's because we believe in the free state of Florida. And I do hope that Byron Donalds will, embrace that and move forward expediently on that, because he's going to have a tough road. Democrats are digging in, and it is going to be up to the Republicans and conservatives to show up big time in November.
Another person that we were watching, another race, was John Strand, of course. It's not looking too good at this point for John, but what a fighter that guy is, huh?
Absolutely. Again, you have a J6er who, on principle, did not cop a plea, went to prison because he did not do anything that they claimed he did in his charges. And so this is a gentleman who stood up for not just all the other J6ers, but really for our rights as Americans, our rights to protest and redress our public servants when it comes to elections that, the everyday American who was out doing election integrity could prove we had a lot of issues with our elections, whether it was from the voter rolls or it was from vote flipping or just non-existent voters that were, somehow voting by mail. This is the kind of stuff that we had we as citizens have a duty to stand up and do. And John Strand stood for that. And I stand with John Strand on what he stands for. But the same token, again, a crowded field trying to replace Byron Donalds, who is now the nominee for the Republican Party for governor of Florida.
Definitely. So we see that moving forward. A number of victories there in Florida tonight. And When you go to work every day and you are an information war correspondent, I love that title, by the way, because that's what it is. It is an information war. We know that it's right versus left, good versus evil, all the things, Jesus versus Satan. I mean, it's real, right?
That's right.
What makes you keep doing it, though, every single day?
The truth, and frankly, our country was founded on biblical principles, and God has given us the opportunity here in the Second Covenant nation to live a righteous life and to live under the rules that He put forward for us, which is really all about freedom. Our founding fathers inscribed the Creator's name 4 times in our founding fathers' documents, and it's incumbent upon us in our Declaration of Independence to do our civic duty and to throw off a government that is not working of, by, and for the people. And so if we are not doing that every single day, then we're not walking with God. And so you put God at the center of everything, which is what I loved about Paul Renner. He does put God at the center of everything. You're not living up to the expectations of our founding fathers, nor are you living up to that of God's. And so it's really very fundamental to me, Matt. It's really nothing more than that. It's just simply, as they say, what would Jesus do? Well, this is what we need to do. Sometimes you got to flip a few tables.
Well, I mean, God, family, country, that's what it is all about. And it'll always be that way for people that are on the right side of history. So, Ann Vandersteel, thanks again for joining us from Florida tonight. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good stuff there with Ann Vandersteel. Of course, quite the following on X and Truth Social and other places as well, as we are live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, if you're just joining us now, we have some of the results that are in. Of course, the AP reporting, as you see, Byron Donalds wins the Florida primary race. We also saw that Senator Ashley Moody moving on, Randy Fine moving on, and we went through a lot of those numbers just moments ago. Let's go to some of our sponsors in the meantime, Kalshi.com/RSBN. A ton of great topics there that people are either betting, trading, or just checking out polls. You can do that with Kalshi.com. More than 1 million users on that site. You can get to Kalshi one of 3 ways. The QR code that you see on your screen, the Kalshi app, or Kalshi.com/RSBN. 3 spots to get you to that one. Great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. A lot of people talking about midterms and all of the things right there on Kalshi. Let's also go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including Cove Pure, as you see there, covepure.com/RSBN. Most of us know there's chlorine in our tap water. We smell it and we shrug and we drink it anyway because we've been told it's what keeps our water safe. But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water. And that's why it's so important to filter your water through Cove Pure. Chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem. Chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated are chemicals that form when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter from rivers, soil, and plant matter. Now, when chlorine interacts with those particles, we're told it creates chemical byproducts called THMs. The government itself calls THMs probable human carcinogens, and they've been linked to disruption of your gut and to cancer. Those pitcher filters you get at the store won't fix this. They simply improve the taste of chlorine, but THMs require something far more powerful, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is. Their ClearWave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So it's not just chlorine or THMs, fluoride, PFAs, pharmaceuticals. Basically, if it isn't water, Cove Pure removes it. And this thing doesn't take up too much room at all. It's just right there on the kitchen counter. You plug it in. Nobody needs to be called in to install it. And the best part about Cove Pure is it lets you choose whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm, with a tap of a button. And finally, the feedback on Cove Pure from our viewers has been incredible. And people have told us they can literally taste the difference. Clean water is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. So right now, they're giving RSBN viewers $250 off if you use our link, covepure.com/RSBN. All right, checking out the headlines that I'm seeing out there. Of course, we are seeing Director, can you say that again? Oh, all right, let's go now live to Byron Donalds right now, speaking live in Florida.
And I stay under you fighting, plus I'm storming on these chumps like I'm thunder and lightning. Ain't no way you breaking me, kid. I'm harder than nails, plus I keep it on lock like I'm part of the jail. I'm slaughtering stale competition. I got the whole block wishing they could roll with my division. But they call fishing.
Erica, there's a lot of love in this room tonight. A lot of love. I want to start by thanking God for all his blessings and protection over my family and over my team. I also want to thank the most important people in my life. To my amazing family, Erica, my incredible wife of 23 years. And our sons, Damon, Darren, and Mason, thank you guys for standing by my side during the long days and the late nights on the trail. I love you guys. I love you. I want to thank all of our supporters. All of you are here, and many, many more. And I want to thank the best campaign team in all of America. We've been crisscrossing Florida. We've been knocking hundreds of thousands of doors, taking our message to all Floridians. And tonight, because of your sweat, because of your hard work, we have won a massive victory. Now, we've just come through a hard-fought primary. I got a call from Paul Renner and James Fishback tonight. And they, hold on, I'm going to tell you why in a moment. And they congratulated me and all of us on a hard-fought victory. And my conversation with both of them is very simple. Congratulations. Let's go beat David Jolly in November. You see, because individual opinions and passionate supporters are the beauty of our conservative movement. But tonight, the primary is over. Tonight, we put aside our differences. Tonight, we are one united Republican Party. You see, I remember Erica and I were sitting around a fire pit last year with friends, and we were talking about this campaign, and we were talking about the future of Florida. No matter the issue or the policy, the conversation always ended with us talking about the Florida dream. For us, it's personal. You know my story. I came to Florida 30 years ago on a Greyhound bus. At 17 years old, with just a trunk full of clothes, I arrived in Tallahassee. Go Noles. Go Noles. I could have sworn it was opening weekend here in Orlando because it became Noles Nation here tonight. But in all honesty, and Blaise Ngolia, our CFO, is here with us. Blaise, congratulations on a decisive victory. And Blaise has heard me say this, and I mean it. I love all of our schools now. I love them all. When Erica and I got married, it wasn't always easy. Our first apartment was 1,200 square feet, and it had those old Jalowsi windows. We didn't have the money for the security deposit, so we had to roll that into our rent. I worked at Cracker Barrel and moved furniture on the weekends just to make ends meet. Erica was 6 months pregnant with our first son, and she worked full-time as a staff accountant while working for Kelly Services on the weekend. We did this to build a life for our family. This state gave me a chance. I went on to spend 17 years in banking, finance, and insurance, and it prepared me for the very real economic challenges that Floridians face every single day. You see, the Florida dream to us is clear. It's the promise that if you work hard, you can get ahead, own a home, raise your family, and give your kids a better shot than you had without government holding you back. In Florida, we have built a strong foundation under former Governor Rick Scott. And under Governor Ron DeSantis, we have supercharged that foundation, making Florida the envy of every state in America. We are going to continue that legacy and take Florida to the next level. To protect and expand that dream for the next generation, my administration will be guided by 3 pillars: making Florida accountable, achievable, and most of all, affordable. An affordable Florida starts with a limited government that respects hardworking taxpayers who fund it. Under my watch, every contract, every budget, and every fee this state spends will be posted online, out in the open, where you can see it. We are going to continue the Department of Government Efficiency that was started here in Florida under Governor DeSantis. As your governor, we are going to doge all local governments and all state agencies. There will be no sacred cows. Taxpayers deserve to know that their hard-earned dollars are being spent efficiently, transparently, and with total integrity. An achievable Florida means every Florida child gets a real shot at the Florida dream, no matter where they start. We are going to make sure our kids master math, reading, and writing, not just to have the best K-12 system in America, but to have the best K-12 system in the world. And we know in a modern economy, there are multiple ways to be successful. That's why we're establishing the Launchpad Initiative, an employer-led program connecting high school juniors and seniors with in-demand careers in construction, aerospace, defense, and manufacturing. They will learn, they will earn, and they will graduate into high-paying six-figure jobs without student debts. Because if a kid can make real money right out of high school, that's a kid already building the Florida dream for themselves. And right here in Florida, we are going to lead the world in commercial space. Cape Canaveral is no longer a museum. It is the most active spaceport in the Western Hemisphere. We are going to slash the red tape, expand our technical workforce, and keep the welders, machinists, and engineers of the future right here in the Sunshine State. An affordable Florida means a Florida that stays a place that you can actually afford to live. From your tax bill to your insurance premium to the cost of your health care. First, we're going to keep cutting your taxes. When I was in Washington as a member of Congress, I fought for your federal taxes to be cut. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and the largest tax cut on Social Security in this country's history. That's real money back in your pockets, in the pockets of Florida workers and Florida's retirees. And as your governor, I will continue to fight to make sure you keep more of your hard-earned money. On property taxes, whether Amendment 3 passes or fails, we are going to reform property taxes in our state with the goal of eliminating homestead property taxes once and for all. And if the math can't take us there, we will target that relief to our seniors on fixed income and our working families who want Florida to remain their home. And let's be very clear, and I see Sheriff T.K. Waters from Duval County is right here in front. How you doing, TK? At the same time, hey, Steve Witt in Hendry County. At the same time, we will not jeopardize funding for our police, firefighters, and first responders because they have our backs and we have theirs. On insurance, you pay your premium every single month on time, and you deserve real results. We will create a public scorecard on every insurance company in Florida, tracking how fast they pay claims and how often they deny them, bringing real competition, real transparency, and real accountability to drive rates down. On housing, we are going to slash government red tape so that whether you're a young worker starting out or a growing family or a senior on fixed income, you can actually buy and afford a home in Florida. On healthcare, under our Your Doctor, Your Price plan, we will require healthcare providers to post real cash prices for all procedures up front in plain English. No prior authorization games, no surprise billing, and we are going to align state prescription drug pricing with federal pricing so you pay less at the pharmacy counter. And finally, on power and artificial intelligence, we will lead in innovation, but we will not put the cost of AI on the backs of Floridians and their electric bills. We will mandate closed-loop systems for water. We will enforce strict setbacks for residential neighborhoods, protect our pocketbooks, protect our communities, and protect our environment, or no data centers, period. And please remember this, none of our prosperity works without safe streets. In Florida, law and order will always be the standard. We will back the blue, we will support our sheriffs and police officers, and we will keep our communities safe. Now, an accountable, achievable, and affordable Florida is our vision for the future. But in 77 days, Florida, we face a critical choice. In November, we will be facing off against liberal David Jolly. Oh, I see you've heard of him. Well, let me tell you some more. David Jolly is a career political insider, a Washington lobbyist casting checks for special interests, and an MSNBC commentator who was part of the very revolving door he claims he'd clean up. David Jolly represents everything that folks hate about Washington, D.C. Liberal David Jolly is the change that Florida cannot afford. When it comes to your wallet, Jolly opposed cutting taxes for working families and seniors. Jolly defended a $4 trillion tax hike that would raise taxes on every Floridian, taxing your tips, taxing your overtime, and taxing your Social Security on seniors who spent a lifetime earning. Jolly would rather you pay more than $3,000 in taxes every single year. On property insurance, his plan is government-run socialism that forces you to prop up state funds with your tax dollars. When COVID hit, David Jolly chose Fauci over Florida. He fled to Pennsylvania because he wanted endless lockdowns over common sense leadership by Ron DeSantis. And he later said that Fauci has unimpeachable judgment. Well, let me be very clear. Anyone who chose Fauci over Florida does not deserve to lead our state into the future. On law enforcement and the border, he wants to end Florida's cooperation with federal authorities and has floated open borders. On our children, David Jolly actively champions radical gender policies and opposes protecting our children from life-altering transgender surgeries. This is a man who says he found his home in the Democrat Party, and that the Democrats are right on all the issues. David Jolly said he felt welcome in the Democrat Party under Kamala Harris. That's what he said. The same Kamala Harris that left our borders open, left our streets unsafe, and created the largest inflation most Americans have ever seen. Florida, David Jolly is out of his mind. And to top it all off, he has vowed that on election night, that he wants to apologize for Florida to the rest of the world. Well, let's make something very clear to David Jolly. We are not going to apologize for Florida. We will not apologize for keeping our state open. We will not apologize for keeping our taxes low. We will not apologize for backing our police. And we will not apologize for protecting girls' sports. And we will never apologize for protecting parental rights. No one listened to David Jolly on MSNBC, and no one should listen to him now. He lost before, and on November 3rd, he is going to lose again. See, here's my promise, Florida. Tonight and every day moving forward, I will keep your taxes low. I will lower your insurance costs. I will protect school choice. I will stand with law enforcement. I will defend common sense when it comes to protecting our girls and our children's puberty. And I will make Florida more affordable. The general election starts tonight, and I can't do this alone. I need your prayers, I need your energy, and I need your hard work. So I ask you, are you with me to keep Florida red? Are you with me to keep Florida free? Then let's get out and build a state that's truly accountable, achievable, and affordable. Together, we will make the Florida dream a reality for every mom wanting the best for her kids, for every dad providing for his family, for every young person like our own sons desiring to own a home and start a family, and for every retiree enjoying their golden years. Together, we will not just be defending the Florida dream, we will take the Florida dream to a whole new level. God bless you, Florida. God bless you for being here tonight. And God bless the United States of America.
Byron Donalds advancing to the midterm election, which is exactly 77 days from today. As we're looking live there, beautiful picture of the U.S. Capitol. That's a live picture, of course, as it is now 9 o'clock on the East Coast. In just a second there, 6 o'clock out there on the West Coast. Thanks so much for watching from coast to coast here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We still have some more to get to here. You know, we've talked about All Family Pharmacy before, and there's a reason we keep returning to them. In my opinion, they're one of the best pharmacies in the country because they believe Americans should have more freedom and more choice when it comes to their health care. They stand for medical freedom and work to make trusted medications easier to access without all the unnecessary runaround. So when life throws you a curveball and your health suddenly becomes the priority, you want a pharmacy that's ready to help. From connecting you with licensed medical providers when appropriate, to fast shipping options, to knowledgeable support when you have questions, All Family Pharmacy is there when you need them. They have a full catalog of more than 400 medications, from everyday essentials to antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD+, GLP-1 options, peptides, and the list goes on. It's the kind of company you hope you never needed an emergency, but you're glad it's there if you do. Check them out and find the medications you may need for your family. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can use that promo code RSBN10 to save 10% on your order. Call 561-717-6794. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's also go to this next sponsor here on the network. You can see the following free, kidsfightingsocialism.com. You know, Democratic Socialists, unfortunately, are winning some primaries and gaining some political influence heading into the 2026 midterms. And their ideas in favor of higher taxes, welfare programs, and bigger government are not only threatening our way of life today, but they could destroy your children's future. Our kids are bound to hear more about socialism as we approach the midterms, but depending on the source, like maybe their public school teacher, not all of them, but some, they could be hearing that socialism is better than capitalism and that socialism is the answer to all of our problems. Of course, parents want to be in control of this conversation so your kids don't risk being brainwashed into believing these lies. That's why I want to tell you about the Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism. It's designed specifically for kids, and this important guide explains the differences between capitalism and socialism's big brother, communism, in a way kids can understand. It explains crucial concepts such as free markets, individual freedom, and government overreach. The Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism also helps kids understand why socialism and communism have never worked by taking your kids through different historical examples, from the Plymouth Colony's failed attempt at socialism, Cuba's disastrous situation, and across the globe to the Soviet Union and communist China, to really show them how socialistic practices failed miserably. And remember, with the midterms coming up, this is especially important for kids to learn right now. And that's why the Kids Guide is giving you the Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism for free today. It's part of a free gift bundle that also includes the Kids Guide to Free and Fair Elections. Now, these kids' guides are free and yours to keep. There is just $2, though, for shipping and handling with a special offer. So to learn more and order your free copy of the Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism and your free bonus guide, just visit kidsfightingsocialism.com. kidsfightingsocialism.com. And maybe the most important thing you do for your children or grandchildren this year. Great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It is 9:02 Eastern Time. We've been live since 7 p.m. Eastern. We've had a ton of live interviews. And of course, we went over the numbers of the Senate, congressional, and gubernatorial races in Florida for the primary election. So we'll be wrapping up our broadcast here in just a little bit. We know that we are, again, 77 days away from the midterm election. Let's go now to a few statements from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue regarding our elections. Now, this was from a few weeks ago. President Trump, that national primetime address, remember the White House saying the following: for years, fake news and other bad actors tried to convince you that we had safe and secure elections when that clearly wasn't reality. America must continue to fight for honest elections and properly functioning voting systems. Our nation depends on it. And there are a number of, whether it's topics or talking points or information that was learned by President Trump's speech some time back. But as we see right now, this button says, tell Congress to pass the Save America Act. I know it's far. There you go. Hopefully you can see a little bit of it. Secure our elections. Now, this is from the owner of Angel Buttons, who joined us just last week, and he sent us a whole bunch of these. So cool stuff to have, especially, midterm the convention that's coming up in Dallas, Texas. Wearing one of these would be kind of cool. Shout out to Angel Buttons. We'll have the owner on again soon. But the point is, tell Congress to pass the Save America Act. How about I just sit here and make it awkward? Congress, right there, the Capitol building. I guess everybody's on recess, so they're not seeing it, So it's tough to deal with that, because we know that's what's needed. as President Trump has talked about. He said hundreds of millions of American voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. The White House also releasing information saying voting machines and ballot counting systems being exposed to hacking and manipulation. China and other adversaries actively trying to meddle in elections. Evidence of fraud being buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens or dead people still active on voter rolls. No voter ID, no proof of citizenship required. Tens of millions of mail-in ballots floating unsecure. And we could really tee up the solution to this mess in 4 words: the Save America Act. It's time to pass it. If we can't, what will happen to the future of our country? So we have a number of elections coming up, primary elections. August 25th, there's an Oklahoma runoff. Also in South Carolina as well, a runoff there. September 1st, Massachusetts. September 8th is New Hampshire. September 9th, Rhode Island. And September 15th is Delaware. Also, again, on September 9th and 10th, the RNC hosts a midterm national convention in Dallas, Texas. We look forward to having more coverage this week here on RSBN. Of course, we are the go-to network for live coverage when it comes to live events, and also at the White House there as President Trump. We've covered the president, man, since 2015. I wonder how many speeches we have heard from Donald J. Trump. Quite a lot of them. And I do know that there is some information that there will be a rally coming up this week on Friday. I saw that that is something that is not for planning purposes only anymore. So he'll be in South Carolina this Friday for an old school rally. It'll be good to see that. Anyway, let's go to a couple of our sponsors here, mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, right there, a lot of quality products on that site, mypillow.com/RSBN. If you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate. Thanks so much for watching our coverage tonight. We'll be back at it tomorrow. For all of us here at RSBN, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you soon.